The instant your life ceases, your spirit has only a brief window to seal its everlasting fate. Allan Kardec, with remarkable clarity, uncovered the ultimate cosmic blueprint, a chart that divides humanity across 7 distinct planes of spiritual existence. Be advised, your advancement in moral character is not an option. It is the ultimate criterion that determines your exact placement when you are separated from your physical body. If you have ever felt the cold nearness of a loved one who has passed, experienced dreams of the departed that seemed more real than waking life, or been haunted by unexplained hunches, then prepare yourself. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Let's start. What you are about to learn will not only explain these occurrences, but will also send a chill down your spine. Here is the shocking truth. Most people do not ascend to the heavenly place they envision after they die. Kardec's profound research, documented in the Spirit's Book, indicates that a massive 90% of present-day souls are currently destined for only 3 of these 7 worlds. One of these realms is so horrific that the higher spirits, in their endless wisdom, deliberately refrain from describing it in detail. In the upcoming minutes, I will strip away the mystery and expose all 7 destinations, present cases that substantiate the existence of these worlds, and most importantly, give you the key to securing your place in the superior realms before your earthly clock stops entirely. Did you know that? Right now, spirits from the primitive worlds are incarnating on Earth for the first time. These are souls newly emerged into consciousness, arriving from planets where life has only just murmured its first notes. Kardec describes them with surgical precision in question 172 of the Spirit's Book, as entities crawling on the initial rungs of the spiritual evolutionary path. Imagine for a moment a spirit that has wandered for countless eons in a state of near unawareness, submerged in basic life forms where instinct was its only guide. Suddenly, for the first time in its eternal journey, this spirit awakens to the ability to differentiate between good and evil. It's like a person born blind regaining their vision in a flash of light. These primitive worlds, according to Kardec's disclosures, function as cosmic laboratories where awareness gradually blooms under the watchful eye of God. But hold tight, because what I'm about to reveal next will completely upend your current perspective. Allan Kardec clarified that some of these primitive spirits do not advance directly to higher planes upon discarnation. An unforgiving spiritual vetting process dictates their next destination, based on a factor few truly understand. In a moment, I will share a jarring case from Kardec's records about a soul that languished for centuries in the primitive realms, and its story will profoundly resonate with you. But first, you must grasp a crucial fact about the second type of world, the place where you and I are currently held. Most people are oblivious to the terrifying consequences of this reality. Earth. Yes, the planet we breathe on belongs to the second category, worlds of trials and expiation. Kardec does not mince words in question 172 of the Spirit's Book, declaring outright that our planet is a rigorous training ground, where spirits come to burn off their karmic debts and internalize difficult lessons through suffering. But here is the revelation Kardec made that few dare to face. We are not here by accident, not in the least. Every soul born on Earth has a distinct purpose, a debt to be settled, or a painful lesson to master. The higher spirits who manage these procedures keep a perfect accounting of every soul that plunges into a new reincarnation. This means your current existence, with all your overwhelming challenges, persistent sicknesses, heartbreaking losses, and agonizing conflicts, was meticulously planned before you even drew your first breath. It is as though you signed a cosmic agreement before birth, consenting to immerse yourself in specific experiences to forge your spiritual evolution in the heat of tribulation. Yet the most disturbing disclosure is still ahead. Many spirits who pass away from worlds of trials like our Earth are not automatically granted access to superior worlds. There is an intermediate realm, a dense vibrational state that Spiritism calls the umbral, lower astral. What happens there will absolutely demolish your understanding of death. The umbral is not a physical world like Earth, but a spiritual region of suffocating frequencies, where spirits who cling desperately to matter after death are dragged down. Kardec's documents, based on spiritual accounts, describe experiences of souls who lingered in a state of semi-awareness for years, suffering without even realizing they had passed on. It is like being hurled into a psychic void where time is warped and mental torment manifests as tangible physical pain. But heed this, because what Kardec disclosed about escaping the umbral will shock you. It is not an arbitrary divine punishment. Spirits remain there due to their own unyielding vibrational frequency. That is an immutable spiritual law. Souls with low, dense vibrations, saturated with hatred, obsessive material attachment, desire for revenge, or suffocating despair, are naturally collected in these dark territories. The only way out is through inner transformation, accepting help from higher spirits, and shedding the material illusions that enslave them. There are documented examples of spirits trapped in the umbral for decades, even centuries, because they refuse to accept their new condition, obsessed with the properties they left behind, shattered relationships, or the vendettas they long to carry out. This is the source of most spiritual obsession cases that surface among the living. Umbral spirits latch onto embodied people, trying to satisfy their material cravings through them. In a few moments, I will recount the most disturbing case of umbral obsession ever brought to light in spiritualist accounts. But first, you must learn about an extraordinary truth Allan Kardec brought forth concerning the spiritual classification process after death. Kardec revealed the existence of a spiritual review board composed of superior spirits who evaluate every departing soul. But do not be mistaken. It is not a punitive judgment as many imagine. It is, in fact, a spiritual medical diagnosis that determines with pinpoint accuracy the type of healing and environment the spirit requires to continue its progress. This process, detailed in Kardec's works, shows that the higher spirits examine three fundamental aspects of the recently departed. First, the depth of attachment they retain to the material life they just left. Second, the level of moral maturity achieved during the completed incarnation. And third, the adaptability they show in the face of their new spiritual state. Prepare for the impact. Kardec revealed that many spirits, even those who lived seemingly virtuous lives, are temporarily detained in intermediate regions simply because they cannot accept that they have died. It is as if their devotion to their earthly identity is so strong that they prefer to live in the delusion of still being embodied, thus creating their own umbral suffering. There are accounts of a doctor who dedicated his life to saving patients, but after his death, wandered through terrestrial hospitals for years, trying to continue operating through living doctors. His love for his profession had become a crippling obsession that prevented him from embracing his new spiritual reality. Only when he finally understood that he could serve more effectively from the spiritual plane by inspiring embodied doctors was he able to liberate himself from this self-imposed confinement. But wait, because Kardec revealed something even more remarkable about how spirits from higher worlds organize the rescue of lost souls in the umbral regions. Genuine spiritual hospitals exist, according to Kardec's descriptions, where specialized spirit teams are dedicated exclusively to retrieving and rehabilitating those who became prisoners of their own low vibrations. The umbral rescue process, based on Kardec's revelations, adheres to specific unbreakable protocols. First, missionary spirits who share a vibrational affinity with the umbral captives are dispatched, as only they can be aided by those who truly comprehend their suffering. These missionaries, often spirits who themselves endured umbral experiences in the past, approach slowly, offering aid and instruction with unfailing patience. But here is the most poignant and desperate part. Kardec explained that many of these rescuer spirits are family members, friends, or even former adversaries of the lost souls who choose to postpone their own ascent to superior worlds to assist in the retrieval of loved ones. It is as if true love creates bonds of mutual accountability that transcend the highest evolutionary tiers. There are records that some exceptionally advanced spirits who had already earned the right to inhabit celestial worlds request permission to temporarily reincarnate in lower realms with specific missions of spiritual rescue. They arrive as spiritual therapists, counselors, social workers, or even as family members of people who need help to break free from obsessions or dependencies that could drag them into the umbral after death. And now you must understand the hope that resides in the fourth type of world, because this is the destination Earth is moving toward, according to Spiritist prophecies, and this will determine the future of all humanity. Regenerative worlds represent an extraordinary evolutionary shift. These are planets where suffering still exists, yes, but where moral awareness has awakened enough for brotherhood to supersede selfishness. Allan Kardec explains that these worlds are like cosmic recovery centers, where spirits heal from the moral wounds acquired in worlds of expiation. But here is the revelation that altered the perspective of millions of spiritists worldwide. The communications received by Kardec confirm that Earth is undergoing a transition to the regenerative world category. This means the most primitive and aggressive souls currently taking birth here will be gradually transferred to other worlds of expiation, while more advanced spirits begin to incarnate on our planet. It is as if humanity is undergoing a massive cosmic examination. This planetary transition, as revealed by Kardec, began in the 20th century and will accelerate in the coming centuries. Spirits who cannot match this collective moral evolution will have to continue their education in other, harsher worlds of trials. This is why we observe so much present-day upheaval and conflict. They are the last spasms of a primitive humanity being forcefully replaced by a more evolved one. But wait, because what comes after the regenerative worlds will hit you hard. Imagine entire planets where war is unknown, where selfishness was eradicated millennia ago, and where every living being naturally collaborates for the universal good. These are the happy worlds, the fifth class of spiritual destinations. The happy worlds, based on Allan Kardec's descriptions, are places where goodness prevails naturally and without effort. There is no need for laws, police, or punishment, because every spirit acts instinctively out of love. Reincarnations in these worlds are voluntary and purely for learning. Spirits choose to embody not to suffer or pay debts, but to gain new experiences that help them to evolve endlessly. It is like a cosmic university, where studying is an incomparable pleasure, not a tedious duty. There are accounts of meetings with spirits who lived in happy worlds. These beings radiated such profound serenity that their mere presence harmonized the environment. They described how in their homeworlds, technology was fully integrated with spirituality, allowing them to create with thought, travel instantly via mental focus, and communicate telepathically with beings from other planets. But the most striking thing was that all this spiritual technological power was used solely to serve and help others, never for personal benefit. Here is something that will change how you view human advancement. Spirits from the happy worlds are the architects behind major scientific and moral breakthroughs in lower worlds, like Earth. When we see inventions that revolutionize humanity, discoveries that alleviate pain, or movements that promote social justice, these are often telepathic inspirations transmitted by these higher beings who serve as true beacons of light. But this is nothing compared to what Kardec revealed about the celestial worlds. We are now discussing the sixth category of spiritual destinations, inhabited by beings so evolved that their comprehension of the universe is simply beyond our reach. In these supreme worlds, trials and expiations no longer exist. The spirits who reach this level have completely overcome egoism and live in a permanent state of universal, unrestricted love. Kardec documented descriptions of celestial world spirits who operate as cosmic administrators, supervising the evolution of entire solar systems, coordinating the reincarnation processes of millions of souls concurrently, and acting as intermediaries between lower worlds and the divine spheres. Their wisdom is so vast that they can instantly grasp the karmic consequences of every action across multiple future lives. But here is the most impactful discovery. These higher spirits, despite their ultimate elevation, still voluntarily choose to occasionally return to lower worlds for specific missions. They appear as great reformers, revolutionary scientists, spiritual leaders, or inspirational artists. Their goal is to accelerate the moral evolution of less developed human societies. It is as if the cosmos dispatches special operatives to intervene during critical moments in our development. And now we come to the seventh and final spiritual destination, the most sacred and mysterious of all, the divine worlds, or spheres of absolute purity. Here we are speaking of spirits who will never need to reincarnate again. They have achieved the relative perfection possible for created beings and live in direct alignment with the divine will, immersed in an indescribable state of bliss. When Allan Kardec questioned the supreme spirits in the Spirits book, he received answers revealing that these pure spirits cooperate directly with God in the management of the universe. They are like divine ambassadors who execute cosmic laws across all dimensions of creation. Their power is so immense that they can create worlds, guide the evolution of entire species, and coordinate processes that span millions of years. But here is the most extraordinary part. Kardec revealed that these divine spirits, despite their supreme elevation, maintain such perfect love for all creatures that they never completely detach from the lower worlds. Through hierarchical chains of intermediary spirits, their influence reaches even the most primitive realms, inspiring the progress and evolution of all life forms. This means that at this very moment, as you read these words, an unseen yet real connection exists between your spirit and these divine spheres. Every noble thought you entertain, every selfless act of love you perform, every moment of genuine compassion you experience, momentarily attunes you to these supreme vibrations. This connection can be fortified through sincere prayer, deep meditation, and especially through selfless service to others. It is as if a direct channel exists between your heart and these divine spheres. But it only activates when your intention is pure and your love is sincere. But wait, because you need to know about a discovery Allan Kardec made concerning the transition process between these worlds, something that will deeply affect you. In the Spirit's book, question 178 discloses that the duration a spirit spends in each world category is not fixed. Some spirits advance quickly, leaping several levels in just a few incarnations, while others remain stagnant for millennia in the same type of world. The difference lies in something few fully grasp. Through spiritual accounts, Kardec documented the case of two individuals who died on Earth on the same day. One was a millionaire who had gained his fortune through the ruthless exploitation of laborers. The other was a humble worker who shared his meager earnings with families in need. Both died hours apart, yet their destinies were completely opposite. The millionaire awoke in the umbral regions, where his sick attachment to material wealth kept him captive for decades. His earthly mansion had become his spiritual prison. The worker, in contrast, was welcomed by spirits of light who guided him directly to a regenerative spiritual colony. There he was able to rest, study the laws of the universe, and prepare for a new incarnation under much more favorable conditions. The crucial difference, as emphasized by Kardec, was not in their material possessions, but in how they utilized what they had. Here is something that will reshape your perspective on divine justice. Kardec's revelations indicate that many of the illnesses, physical limitations, and family struggles we face in this life are experiences chosen by our spirit before reincarnation. It is as if our spirit, advised by higher mentors, selects the exact experiences it needs most to advance. This explains why we see individuals born into struggling families, with physical disabilities, or in conditions of extreme poverty. It is neither divine punishment nor misfortune. They are opportunities for spiritual growth that the Spirit itself requested to cultivate specific virtues like patience, humility, compassion, or material detachment. Kardec documented accounts of a child born blind who became one of the most cheerful and helpful people in their community. It was revealed through mediumship that this spirit had been a corrupt judge in previous lives who had ignored injustice for money. Their current physical blindness was a chance to develop the spiritual vision they had lost to greed. But here is the most remarkable part. This same child, by cultivating exceptional compassion and dedicating their life to comforting others in pain, accelerated their spiritual evolution so dramatically that the higher mentors revealed that in their next incarnation, they would be born into a regenerative world with developed mediumistic abilities to aid in the planetary transition. And now comes the secret Allan Kardec uncovered regarding how the higher spirits identify those prepared to advance to more elevated worlds. There are what Kardec, through the spirits, termed cosmic graduation tests, which occur both during the embodied life and in the period between lives. These are circumstances specifically designed to evaluate whether the spirit has genuinely integrated the necessary virtues for the next evolutionary stage. One of the most frequent of these tests is what happens when we face betrayal, injustice, or persecution. The spirit who reacts with vengeance, hatred, or resentment shows they still require more experience in worlds of expiation. However, the one who sincerely forgives maintains inner peace and even feels compassion for the person who harmed them, demonstrates readiness for the superior worlds. Examples like Kardec himself, who faced slander and misunderstanding yet pursued his mission with dedication and serenity, validate this truth. Kardec displayed humility and detachment by continuing his tireless work, and the higher spirits confirmed that this was a test to seal his fate in more elevated spheres. But wait, because there is an aspect of these spiritual worlds that very few know, which will completely change your view of family and friendship bonds. In the Spirits book, Allan Kardec asked the higher spirits about emotional ties between different worlds, and the answer disclosed a network of connections spanning multiple dimensions, defying earthly comprehension. Spirits who truly love one another maintain bonds that exceed the physical boundaries of worlds even after death. It is possible that your current spouse is destined for a superior world, while you still require more incarnations in worlds of trial, or vice versa. But genuine love builds interdimensional bridges that allow for regular spiritual meetings, even when loved ones reside at different evolutionary levels. There are accounts of advanced spirits who routinely visited lower spiritual colonies to monitor the progress of a companion who still required more preparation time. This spirit had earned the right to inhabit celestial worlds, but, out of true love, chose to postpone their ascent to assist in the evolution of the one they loved. This leads us to an extraordinary disclosure about spiritual families. Kardec provided the information that family groups who genuinely love one another on Earth are actually segments of spiritual families who reincarnate together across multiple lifetimes. Parents and children in this life may have been siblings in previous lives, spouses in other incarnations, or even close friends in different historical periods. But here is a fact that will affect you regarding children who die prematurely. Kardec revealed that many of these spirits are highly evolved souls who come to Earth for specific, yet very short, missions. Their purpose is not to live a full life in worlds of expiation, but to deliver lessons of love, awaken compassion in their families, or swiftly settle karmic debts through the sacrifice of a brief, intense incarnation. These spirits, after passing away in childhood, often become the spiritual guides for their own parents and siblings, assisting them from the spiritual plane in family evolution. This is why many families who lose children report mediumistic experiences, vivid dreams, or protective presences connected to those children. The Spiritist revelations confirm that some highly advanced spirits choose to incarnate for only days, weeks, or months, with the specific goal of touching hearts, uniting families through shared grief, or teaching the value of life through their brief time on Earth. Their premature death is not a tragedy, but an accelerated graduation to superior worlds. And now comes the question that will determine your eternal fate. After learning about these 7 levels of spiritual evolution, which one do you currently inhabit? The answer does not hinge on your religion, socio-economic status, or formal education. It depends entirely on your capacity for love, compassion, and service to others. Through the Spirit's communications, Kardec disclosed an infallible method for identifying your current evolutionary stage. Observe your spontaneous reactions to the suffering of others. If your first impulse is to help without expecting anything in return, your spirit is already vibrating at the frequencies of regenerative or superior worlds. If your initial reaction is indifference, or even a secret satisfaction in the misfortune of others, your spirit still requires many more incarnations in worlds of expiation to be purified. But here is the remarkable hope that Spiritism offers. No matter what level you are at now, you can always evolve. Every act of kindness, every moment of sincere forgiveness, every time you choose love over selfishness, you accelerate your spiritual progress. It is as if every single day you have the opportunity to vote for your own eternal destiny. Allan Kardec himself, through his life dedicated to the study and dissemination of the doctrine, transformed his own spiritual fate, speeding up his evolution by centuries of progress. This is the final lesson I want to make clear. Your destiny after death is not preordained by external forces. It is being written by you moment by moment with every moral decision you make. The 7 spiritual worlds are not fixed destinations, but steps on an endless ladder of evolution that every soul must climb at its own pace. If this knowledge has transformed your perspective on life and death, please share it with someone who urgently needs to hear this. And remember, according to Allan Kardec's teachings, spiritual knowledge carries responsibility. Now that you know where you are going after death, the decision of how you get there rests entirely with you. But before we conclude, you must be aware of the 3 undeniable signs Allan Kardec identified for recognizing when a spirit is prepared for the next evolutionary level. The first sign is the capacity to genuinely forgive even the most malicious enemies. This is not a forced or merely intellectual pardon, but one that springs from the heart and brings immediate inner peace. The second sign is the gradual detachment from material possessions and social recognition. The spirit ready for superior worlds begins to feel genuine satisfaction in giving rather than receiving, in serving rather than being served, and in uplifting others rather than seeking personal advancement. The third and most critical sign is what Kardec, through the communications, described as permanent spiritual joy. It is an inner peace and contentment that is not contingent on external circumstances. Even when facing difficulties, illness, or loss, the evolved spirit maintains serenity and even gratitude for the opportunities for growth these experiences provide. The life examples presented in Kardec's works of spirits who forgave, gave selflessly, and maintained unwavering joy confirm the promise that their next incarnation will be in a regenerative world where they can serve with even greater abilities. And here is the final pledge I want to leave with you. No matter your current evolutionary level, there is always hope for advancement. Every day is a fresh opportunity to progress to superior worlds through small acts of love, forgiveness, and service. Your eternal destiny is quite literally in your own hands, being written with every moral choice you make. The 7 spiritual worlds await you. Which one will you guide your steps towards starting today?